I think I figured out what the problem was. I had stereo mix going at the same time, so like my voice wasn't coming out on stream, and that means that your guys' voice is coming out twice.
Whoa.
I can still hear myself a little bit, but...
Yeah,
Oh wait, no,
that's
it cut off.
because
It cut off.
I have the stream running on my other computer right now to make sure I can actually hear everything properly. I'm trying to do like 8 things at once is the thing.
It's alright.
So I have a question that has to do with Vanquish, but I don't know anything about Vanquish. And from the little that I know about Vanquish and what I can kind of see from it is that it is a Japanese-developed game in the style of Western-developed games, and I'm wondering if it could be a bridge for what we're talking about in Zoya's piece.
I'm gonna stop you right now because I think I heard you asking me something about Vanquish, and I literally didn't have my headphones on because I was doing shit on the stream.
Oh, right.
So,
It was just a general question. I don't know if anyone else knows anything about Vanquish, but I know nothing about it.
Vanquish was developed by Platinum Games, who actually are the developers of Metal Gear Rising, coincidentally
Yeah.
enough.
Bayonetta.
And Bayonetta. They have an incredibly, and just in case anybody doesn't know the storied history of Platinum Games, Platinum Games also, technically speaking, started as Clover Studios. A lot of the people who work at Platinum now started as Clover Studios, so they have a great lineage of action games. They developed
Heroes.
They developed. They didn't make No More Heroes. That's you're thinking of.
Grasshopper.
You're thinking of Grasshopper.
Oh, sorry,
yeah, you're thinking
Okami.
of Grasshopper Manufacturer.
Yeah. Platinum has made. A lot of the people who are at Clover were involved with the original Devil May Cry.
Okay.
And
Had
a
some
lot of those
green
same,
imagery there.
and a lot of the same
Flashing.
people worked on Metal Gear Rising and Bayonetta.
True.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know I know what I'm doing, so let's do something different. What's on today's test schedule?
Let's see here. They
It's a
made
good thing I'm going through the tutorial of this game now too, because that means I don't have to explain much, so all you have to do is pay attention and you'll understand like, the basics. And of course, this is only like controls and shit because the actual like how you're supposed to play the game they don't fucking tell you. But your boys here, your boys got you.
Your boys got it, yeah. I just want to say too that like what's it called? One thing about because I did play the demo of Vanquish. And I don't know if it was Austin or TJ or someone was telling me the way you're supposed to play Vanquish, and then I realized that because I played the demo of it, and I realized that I played it all wrong because I was doing it like a general shooter, like I was doing cover and stuff. I was hiding cover and shit.
All right,
and then I was hiding cover, trying to look at stuff, and I was like, I'm not really into this game.
Yeah. Okay. Solon, are you paying attention to the stream right now?
I'm watching, yep.
Okay. This is what's gonna happen right now. Once it catches up in like 30 seconds, is the most important mechanic in the game.
rolling.
No.
Oh,
Oh,
sliding.
Yes,
boosting.
sliding. It's the most important thing in the world.
So Platinum Games, basically, they've made a bunch of great action games. They started as Clover, and as Clover, they made Okami, which is, I mean, it's basically a Zelda game, but more importantly to the lineage of this, they also made God Hand. Yeah, and
It's so good, right?
Power slide to victory!
Also, notice how with just an infusement of. I hate to be drawing in such broad types, but the thing about this is like, what kind of fucking Western developer would put in an anime slide like this that just does a whole bunch of shit?
I would, and that's why
this
I
is
should be
so-
making every single game.
Yeah,
This is so God Hand, too. Okay, I'm seeing it, yeah.
No, this is literally about as close to a God Hand 2 as we'll get. Like if you took Gene and gave him a gun, you would have Vanquish.
to adjust target
Fuck, you know what? I'm actually putting Metal Gear Rising in my PS3 right now. I've been resisting the urge for too long.
And also, you'll have to forgive me if the frame rate isn't like super great, or if it looks kind of like extra blurry. It's because my computer hasn't streamed in a very long time with PS3 games, and it's also starting to show its age as a computer. So there might be some points where it looks a little chuggy, but it's cool. No big deal. We're having fun. We're having fun here.
Anarchy Reigns is in chat, too.
This is I mean that's also something that can be streamed if some other people. Bloody Honey, who I know has Anarchy Reigns. We could do some of that at some point, which would be great. That's a game that definitely doesn't get enough attention. That's a game that's like absolutely perfect for streaming that nobody streams.
what is like what do you think about Anarchy Raids? I'm actually interested in.
Anarchy Reigns is a really good game that is unfortunately missing like offline multiplayer. Like honestly, if that game had offline multiplayer, like people would still be talking about it today because it would just be you'd be unable to stop playing. It's too good. It's like if you
I
took.
did play Mad Men.
It's like if you took like I'm just gonna say Call of Duty because that's the usual go-to for multiplayer. Like if you took that, put it into a beat 'em up, and actually balanced out the shit that you have, that would be Anarchy Reigns.
Huh.
It's like really good.
And I've never heard of it before. I've heard of Vanquish, and it was difficult to hear
That's
of it,
because
but
Sega.
how have I not heard of it?
Because fucking Sega is absolutely terrible at marketing their products. Like any game that Platinum made was like horribly marketed. Vanquish was horribly marketed. Anarchy Reigns was like terribly marketed, and it was. And plus, there's the whole thing with the United States and European versions taking an entire year to get to us. Even though, mind you, the game was pretty much already fully translated. Because like the voices that they recorded were already in English, so all they had to do was translate the menus, and that apparently took a year, which I don't buy.
Blade can only replicate
Yeah,
what already exists.
Sega.
Even the
Anarchy
Sega Dev
Reigns.
is weird.
Now we're going
Anarchy
to check
Reigns
grenade
was
mounts.
for the Wii, I think. It was a game that. Oh God.
Yeah, Anarchy Reigns is on the Wii.
Mad World, yeah. I'm just looking at it. I'm realizing Anarchy Reigns is actually in the Mad World universe, which is awesome.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a
It's
game
not
that came
in
out
the
after
like Mad
Vanquish.
World universe, but it makes a lot of callbacks to it.
Talked about.
Yeah, I played
I never
Mad
played
World.
it.
Mad World is the shit.
Mad World what?
It's the shit. It's the best.
Yeah, it's good. Really good. Yeah. So Mad World's cool. So Anarchy Reigns came out after Vanquish and it came out before Metal Gear Rising. A year before. Actually, it's weird. It says it was for the PlayStation 3. I thought it was for the.
We need
so,
to get some data on how
it's-
far we can push the
It's
action.
really weird to explain. I haven't played it, but I mean, I just know some stuff of it. It's.
Our friends at the Pentagon
I'm just
have
thinking
to
because
lend us
it's so
brand new
weird
piece of equipment.
to because I remember when I first saw
Can you repeat that? I
like
think
a
you might
video
be
for
getting-
Metal Gear Rising. I remember the first thought I had was like, this looks really slow. And I remember that particularly because of how much time is between like between slashes between like when he goes here and then here and then here and then there, right? So he's going like between and between. I remember thinking about the Anarchy Reigns.
So we can't hit the thing too
I'm
quick.
just noting these things because I'm just
Go ahead
looking
and
at
punch it
some
again.
videos right now.
I think I'd like to point out that that's kind of important in Metal Gear Rising because it's like all of the slashes are just like the thing about it is that it moves very fast, but in contrast to the more recent Devil May Cry games, Metal Gear Rising moves with a lot of purpose.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
Well, or rather, the thing about it is like this is actually something that, according to a friend of mine, who you may know as the fighting game player Oriole Wolf, he was talking. We often talk about action games quite a bit, and I forget what the lockdown is. I'm getting screwed up. And basically, it's that.
Sam, we took the measurements we made.
The
of
first
your
Devil May
brain
Cry
sympathetic
is a
nervous system
lot less
and tuned the
fast-paced
RS
than
synaptic
the
emitters to
more
augment
recent
your
ones.
reactions under fire.
And
Doesn't
or
really
it's a
make
lot
walking
slower
around
paced
with
than
legs.
that.
It's slower
Yeah,
paced
more
because it used to be a Resident Evil game, and it still kind of had those Resident Evil bits in it, just slightly sandwiched in there. Like if you're like me and you played if you played like the Devil May Cry games after Devil May Cry 1, and then you tried to go back to it, you're like, what the fuck is
Let
this?
me know when you're ready.
But like once you actually like get used to like the fact that it's like an older design game, it's like it's still like really well designed in a lot of aspects. And you can like kind of see how Devil May Cry progressed into what it is today.
Okay.
Especially when you compare like 1 and then 2 and then 3. Like you just kind of like see the progression happen. And like I know a lot of people don't like Devil May Cry 2, but like it's one of those games where it was kind of necessary in order for us to get what we have now, you know? Plus, it did have a lot of really good ideas that were hampered by the fact that the storyline and the writing and all that shit was terrible, and the combat wasn't nearly as great as it could have been.
I finished implementing the manual
Yeah.
trigger
So
system
basically,
you
in Metal
asked
Gear
for.
Rising, it moves a lot slower because there's actually supposed to be a lot more purpose to each action that you take.
Okay.
Although it is worth noting that you can cancel out of any action into blade mode, which is actually really important because it's actually a defensive maneuver. What that allows you to do is that it allows you to cancel out of like recovery frames of your attack and move immediately into a parry. And parries are like the heart and soul of how this works. You have to learn how to defensively parry your opponent's moves to actually like effectively play Metal Gear Rising. Oh man, I completely forgot how to play the game.
And yeah, I just showed off a couple of the functions like melee and slow-mo and stuff like that. It's all gonna come to a head like when I actually start playing, so it's not really a big deal.
Very well. I think that's
I will
enough
say
for
that
today's
Metal Gear
test.
Rising has a horrible
Good job,
camera,
Sam.
and it is probably the game's main flaw.
Elena.
I really don't mind the camera in that game, honestly. Maybe it's just because I come from the history of Ninja Gaiden camera, so like me and like bad camera, it's just kind of like, oh okay. I'm never really at a point where it just like completely frustrates me. And I think a lot of that is because I kind of learned how to play around the camera, so I do a lot of movement and like moving myself around like away from everybody, and then like coming back and like approaching it a different way. And that usually has, like, I don't have to worry about the camera when it comes to stuff like that. Plus, when I'm playing Metal Gear Rising, half the time I'm, like, obsessively holding down the ninja run button so I can just jump over shit and then start attacking people. Anyways, this is an intro to Vanquish. It's just hanging out in good old San Francisco with
Also,
with
Metal
robots
Gear
and shit.
Rising. Sorry, go ahead. My
No,
bad.
no, I'm just talking about like this, like the intro to this game takes place in San Francisco, basically.
I was wondering about that. That was a surprise.
Basically,
So-
this entire game centers around space Russia attacking San Francisco,
Nice.
and then the next target is New York. So then they have to go
Space
into
Russia.
space. That's literally
Why?
what it
You
is.
could have
It's
just
space
destroyed
Russia.
San Francisco. That'd
It's
be...
it's like
Not-
if
It's
Russia
not
was like
regular Russia,
comprised.
it's space Russia.
If Russia was comprised of 85% robots, then yeah, it's space Russia. That's the only way I can put it. It's not actual Russia.
Space Russia.
I love all these shots of like the glamorous, idealized, vibrant life of San Francisco, out in parks and stretching and
Yeah, no homeless or
drinking
Google
coffee.
buses.
Yeah.
No homeless or Google Plus. Fuck you, Zolani.
Well,
I said Google buses.
hey,
I said
hey,
Google,
let's be fair. This game was made in 2011, okay?
I said Google buses.
This is before Google Plus became everything.
I said Google buses.
Although, since this game takes place in the future, this is where Google Plus is already. What's happening right now is basically a metaphor for Google Plus. Like this is what's going to
Space
happen if you
Russia.
don't stop Justine Tunney.
Metal Gear Rising's camera is frustrating because the stuff that stuff will literally just come from off screen and hit you for huge damage. This is mostly a problem at the really high difficulty level.
Yeah, that becomes a problem when it comes to enemies like the fucking sliders. I hate those goddamn things because they are always the one that ruins like my S rank because they always just shoot me with like a stray bullet. And it's always just a stray bullet, and it's just like, well, gotta start the whole fight over now.
Wow, this is so graphic, but in such a different way.
It's
whole
weird because
scene.
like this and like maybe one other scene is about like as violent as this game gets because the rest of it is just robots. It's like all robots except for this part.
This game does not give a fuck about human beings.
Oh, are they trying
Yeah,
to
exactly. They
Yeah.
kill San Francisco and then you just shoot giant robots all day.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Google is Space Russia, Colleen.
They're just like, you skin bag, get out of this game. This is about robots.
Here it is. Here comes the Space Russian man.
Gmail descends from the heavens. Oh, sorry, G-Man.
I would be okay with like with like a Vanquish style game where you do like fight Justine Tunney as like a final boss. And she's sitting there, she's like, give Tech a chance.
There's no such thing as racism, and I'll prove it.
No, so.
G plus man.
Also, shoutouts to Vanquish for basically having Hillary Clinton be the president.
Shit, yeah.
Like they were just kind of like, hey, welcome to our America where a woman is president.
San Francisco.
I'm
I'm
What's
just
it
gonna
called?
say this outright. Hillary Clinton could get it.
You think so?
Oh, all right, I'm gonna edit that out.
Dude, censorship. What is that?
I used to say shit like, you know what, 1995 Hillary Clinton could get it, and I'm like, nah, Hillary Clinton could get it.
You animal. This is happening on live television right now. All this commentary that's being spoken right now is being filtered into every United States television right now.
And every single NSA office is just
Oh, but and now we're in space. This is where the rest of the game takes off. Once the stream catches up, of course.
We're waiting for Biohazard to descend on.
So, anyways, welcome to Steve Blum, the video game.
Wait, was that a Sonic? No, forget it. Oh my God, Sonic! Why would you do that to me? Oh, forget it. Oh man. Okay. Oh, actually, there's also something in the chat. Someone who said something that I need to actually get, which is that Sonic Adventure. Yeah, Sonic Adventure has a really bad camera. I'm gonna say that Sonic Adventure doesn't actually have bad of a camera, and I say this because I played Sonic Adventure like a few hours ago, and I've played it forever, and it's actually pretty easy. It's pretty okay. It's a really weird camera. It does really awkward stuff, but I will say that like it's pretty tolerable. Like so far, like it's not hampering my ability. I just want to.
I should play that after having played Sonic 06 and compare.
It's not bad. It's not a bad game. It's actually sometimes sometimes it's a good game.
Because having just played Sonic 06 is like, yeah, that's intolerable.
Any Sonic game you play after Sonic 06 will be okay. Sonic 06 is
okay.
I also want to point out something real quick about Metal Gear Rising because I just hit new game on it because I couldn't deal with the difficulty level of my old file. Raiden just said the word, sometimes by taking a life you can preserve others, and I'd like to point out that the game literally starts with that idea and moves from point A to point B of that idea being horribly deconstructed, and that's the singular narrative focus of this game. This game tells its story a hell of a lot better than Last of Us told its.
Wow. Just focused.
It's focused. Like, I don't, it's just like regardless of Metal Gear Rising knows what it's about and tells its story. Like, in terms of form and content, Metal Gear Rising is a better executed video game than anything that came out of AAA last year.
Yeah, it is.
Wait. I want to challenge this somewhat. Only just for the sake of itself. Like, do you think The Last of Us also is focused?
I liked Last of Us when I played it. I'd honestly have to play it again to really see whether I thought it was all that good. But I do think that The Last of Us, and Eric kind of convinced me of this, Eric Swain, but honestly he kind of convinced me that The Last of Us isn't really about anything. Kind of.
That's a bold statement.
It's an interesting statement.
Kind of about this relationship between the guy and his daughter figure, but the thing about that is that relationship barely develops beyond the point of, okay, he trusts her to shoot guns now, and he lies to her, and it's just like there's not actually a lot of movement in that relationship and that sort of thing. Like there's barely actually a story in Last of Us. You know, like in terms of things moving, characters growing, things changing, literally the end of The Last of Us is, no, I'm not going to make sure that the world changes in any significant way. You know,
so it's really cynical.
It's very cynical.
Well, it's kind of the big AAA games in 2010. To be honest, they're all. I was watching a 30-minute video of Watch Dogs. I actually remember that, and it's really weird too, actually, because Aiden Pierce, who's the Watch Dogs guy, one thing I tweeted about actually is that you can go to bed in Watch Dogs, you go to sleep, and he'll just kind of he's in fully clothed with a bandana.
Yeah, he just kind of lays there he doesn't.
Yeah, he just lays on his back, he doesn't even go to bed, he just sits there, and when you go to bed, you hear dreams of your daughter and all that stuff, and then he gets up and he talks about his daughter and really bad grunt voice, and I think it was Meg Sacco who said it, but he tried to sound like Batman. He's literally doing a Batman impression all the time, sitting there going every time I hear about my daughter, it's really fucking weird, you know. But it's just I'm so over when I'm playing Bioshock Infinite, which I'm playing right now, right? And Booker does the same freaking thing. When Booker's trying to do really grunted I don't give a crap man with a dark past. I'm so fucking over it. I really am.
Peak AAA.
You know what I mean? It's just I'm just not into it at all. And it is very, very cynical to do these things. All these men who they never.
And here's the
they don't do anything. It's just a cynical understanding of how someone deals with their own. And it's always sort of romanticized.
It's really obviously written by people who have never gone through those kinds of experiences in their lives, or approached anyone who may have possibly known anything about it. You know. It's so obvious, like, oh, I watched a couple movies about it, so I know exactly how it works, so now I'm gonna write an entire character around it for a video game. And that's pretty much AAA in a nutshell for the last couple years. I saw something else in a movie, so now I'm gonna make a game about it. And it's all
I saw something else. God damn. We have something fucking canon out here.
Well, I mean, I think that statement can be supported a little bit in the sense that I always feel like the inspirations is always like
What the hell's going on down here?
Like it's never anything with substance.
Right, yeah, and the thing is, like, you even think about it and you realize the fact that, like, these games are kind of like, okay, we have a zombie game, but now this zombie game's kind of, like, emotional about the zombie.
It's emotional.
It's kind of like, and it's kind of like, that just comes from the fact that the culture that informs that, you know, also did that. Like, Walking Dead is kind of like a sentimental zombie story, and that sort of thing. It's just, you know, there's so many, I mean, I forget who wrote this, but I think Cameron Kunzelman wrote it. He said that The Last of Us was probably one of the better games of the year, and one of the better games of the year was basically just like poorly regurgitated stuff from other forms of media. You know.
I mean, what's it called? This is. I mean, it always. I mean, I want to say it comes down to inspiration, but I think it comes down to just people being more read. And honestly, like if we're gonna fire cannons, like whatever, like I do think it comes around to like larger games media in general, which also doesn't feel more read. And I come to that because I feel like sometimes we get so mystified by the existence of things that aren't really that big. So you go to Last of Us and you think, wow, it's emotional. It has emotion in it. It's also really fun too. And it's like, and it feels like, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm just making like sort of assumptions about it. But it's this understanding that it's also like I never. It's so rare that, especially in like larger games and media stuff, where it's demonstrated that someone has like read literature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like has.
I mean, it's not even.
It's just like we get surprised with things that we shouldn't get.
Let's lower our standards there. Not even read literature. How about like seeing a movie that is not Ghostbusters?
Yeah, or like Terminator.
You know, like
I mean, Terminator is fine.
It's kind of shocking. Like even in terms of like action cinema, it is absolutely shocking the degree of action cinema illiteracy in AAA, and I'm completely serious about that because there's the simple fact of the matter that there simply has not been a good Matrix game made yet. You know, like it's just like it's.
Hey,
it's
where's
just,
that? There's that one on the GameCube.
Well, okay.
Fahrenheit.
Actually, I forgot about Path of Neo. I think it says a lot about Path of Neo, but Path of Neo was really good. I really
Just
liked
the
that.
very end of Fahrenheit goes so over the top Matrix. It's hilarious if you haven't seen it.
So there's a set of weapons here that are pre-order weapons that I have that I bought. So like, would anyone like to see all these, or should I just roll with the current set that I have right now?
No way, dude. Exploit it. Break it all.
I don't care.
You guys don't care? I'm just gonna roll with the current set right now, because I don't think y'all need to fuck with the laser cannon when fucking Solon doesn't even know what this game is yet.
Aww.
I don't need him thinking that the laser cannon is the most awesome thing in this game, because it's very far from it, despite the fact that it's completely awesome on both like a graphical and a mechanical standpoint.
Don't blow his mind just yet.
Yeah, I gotta take it slow here. So we're just gonna boost around, you know, hop on some turrets and shoot at a couple guys for the time being.
It's fine. I'll enjoy this.
I love how TJ gets to the landing part, and the first thing he does is that he's just slides plastic right into the freaking cargo kit. It's great.
This big combo system going on.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about this game is the fact that it has an actual like score system and combo system. It actually shows you like when you do shit. Like whenever I get bonuses, that's usually to indicate something like a headshot. It'll also show you like certain enemies. It'll show you like the name of everything, so you actually can like pay attention. And it's just it's great because this is like about as close to an arcade game that we can get from a AAA studio, and it's awesome. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that this basically is an arcade game, just way longer.
This combo system, it looks familiar.
There's something about
By Joy Lancer?
By Joy Lancer.
By Joy Lancer.
There's something pretty interesting about the way that you can kind of inject arcade structures into different things for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something kind of neat about that.
I'm also going to talk about the upgrade system a little bit because it's also very arcade-like. Where basically enemies and other characters that you rescue, which are indicated by these little green health packs that are going to show up in stream in like 10 minutes or whatever. But basically, they drop items that are like weapons and stuff. You just walk over and you pick it up, and it refills your ammo of that weapon, or it replaces the weapon that you have equipped. If you already have full ammo and you pick up a weapon, it adds like a little icon next to it. If you do that 3 times, your weapon upgrades.
Wow.
So there's even like a strategic element in just deciding what weapons to use, whether or not you're going to pick up a weapon for upgrades or for ammo. And it's awesome. There's just everything you do has purpose. Like
So
there's a cover mechanic that I'll show off in like another area or two that allows you to like distract enemies and stuff, where you basically just pop out a cigarette and you smoke it, and the enemies basically follow the cherry. So you can use that to like distract them and have them shoot in a different direction while you flank over to another side, and then just like take out groups of enemies at once. It's awesome.
Wow. Huh.
And that's just like scratching the surface of this game. Like this is still like the first area where you actually do combat.
So I've been thinking a lot about what you guys have been talking about and the kinds of examples of things that, different examples of Western and Japanese games and their design philosophies and what comes up in Zoya's piece on Medium. And I'm kind of putting together this picture about like design density.
Okay.
How there's this philosophy that's been in games for the longest time, and I think Iris is actually hitting it on it pretty well in chat, that The Last of Us is basically everything AAA has been working towards. And it's this design density principle that's like, you have to put as much in your game as possible. Just as many things that will fit inside of the framework has to go in.
Alright. Now that we have our one-liner, we're going to begin the first major like set piece of the game, where it just basically starts you off. And this is what they showed off in the demo for this game, and this is the part of the game where if you haven't already gotten sold, this is the part that sells you basically.
Okay.
Like this is the part where it's like, I have to keep playing this game.
What one-liner was that? I missed it.
When Elena says, "Sam, your suit is performing at nominal levels," and Sam says, "Never had a girl say that to me before." And in like 10 seconds, you're gonna see me rocket slide into an enemy, melee kick, and do a backflip, and then activate slow motion, where I could also take out more enemies if they were around. Because this is Vanquish, and that's what you do in this game.
And then I will immediately buy Vanquish.
And then you will buy that game.
Holy shit.
What's it called? I want to I feel like I missed like a little bit of the last part of what you just said, Solomon, because I had to remove my headphones for a second. You were saying something there, and you said like the last part of it, and I kind of missed it.
Okay, so I want to expand on this too. Like, you're putting as much as possible into your game. It's a very densely designed game.
Yeah.
And the game designers are actually trying to just fit everything possible that fits within the framework of their game.
And you have to make it all
zombie
work
apocalypse.
too.
Oh, and The Last of Us. Well, hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I mean, in the Last of Us is a weird example. I mean, when it comes to fitting, I don't know how much of it is design, how much of it is just concept, in the sense that again, AAA games are always have to be bound into typicality. It's like we want to make a game that gives and I don't like saying this word, but I say it like seriously, in the sense that gives the pretension that you're doing something more than what is actually on screen, and also that it conforms to like an easy understanding of a conflict, which is zombies. Right? So zombies are familiar, and you have some emotional moments between a grunted dude who's very easy to empathize with because he he feels bad all the time, and you always use the family death and the family conflict to do that. Like it's pulling it's a lot of easy strings that you get to pull a lot of times.
And of course the thing is that there actually is a good, I like Ellie as a character a lot, and I frankly think that I might have liked Last of Us better as a game because she's such a good example of what she is. But frankly, what she is a white young female character who we therefore feel okay with needing to protect, and who's also completely desexualized as a result of her age. So. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's some shortcuts in there. Yeah.
Put a female character in our game, but we didn't avoid any of the possible touchy subjects that could have been a result of that by just changing her age and and that sort of thing. And it's just God.
I guess one of your bigger points is that there's nothing about her age that is important. It's just invisibilized.
Well, that's
because
the other,
she's
that's the other,
set as young.
Here's the thing that me nuts about coming of age stories in video games is that, or in a lot of forms of media, is that nobody who's ever coming of age in these coming of age stories is of age. And that's kind of like Ellie is like coming of age, and she's like 14 fucking years old or something like that. And it's just kind of like, and she kind of has this sort of mini crush on like a guy, except they kind of kill it because he dies later, and like it doesn't ever get brought back up. Like there's just kind of this possibility of her as like an actual rounded character, and they just kind of like kill all the things that could make that interesting.
No. That's disappointing.
So I want to take this idea to the next level, and I like that I'm adding on to this critique that it's about like the design density in a Western games is about putting important stuff in your game, and the way I wanted to oppose that, especially with Vanquish, that we're just watching it right now, is that what they're putting into their game and is very dense is something playful instead of important.
Well, here, this actually gives me a good opportunity to mention Lana Polanski, and when she talks about things that are useless. This understanding of uselessness in games, which I also think is actually really important, of the useless... Oh, yeah, so it's this understanding of the uselessness and the playful, that games aren't inherently useless things, and this makes them kind of interesting in a sense, and this makes them actually really enjoyable. And there's something about putting something in just for the sake of it. Something about just having something there just because you can, and something that actually really sort of enjoyable about that. Like, especially when you can tell that there are mechanics in a game that actually do that. I'm trying to think of an example right now, I guess, of something that does it. Oh, great example is Wave Race. I'm writing about Wave Race right now, actually. What's it called? In Wave Race, you can do stunts, right?
Yeah.
And they don't help you win races. And most
But you can do them.
help you not win races. But you can do them, right? You can do a
They're there for
handstand.
you.
You can do a twist. You can do all this stuff.
If you want to, it's there for you. Wave Race got you covered if you're trying to play a Wave Race game that's got tricks. Sometimes you just want to be on jet skis and do. Oh my shit!
So I just want to note that example. Also, I want to note as well when we're talking about father figures. I mean, man, because I'm playing Bioshock Infinite right now, and I'm like, fuck, man. Elizabeth is totally just like it's such a dad game. It's such a dad game.
Get me started on that shit. It's like,
it's so dad. Like
this might be a game that actually kind of depicts the possibility of like I kind of thought what might eventually happen is that I mean I didn't notice any like the age difference thing or whatever didn't really faze me or whatever. So I kind of thought it would end up being like Bioshock Infinite would kind of end up being like, okay, these two are going to become a couple, and then we might actually have a fucking video game that depicts a couple that already exists, and then like the struggles of that, and of course it'll be in the space of a shooter, but I don't really even fucking care about that. Like I point that out a lot, but honestly, if games kept being sci-fi and fantasy for the rest of the existence, I'd be fine. But you know. But it like, but I mean, the thing about that is like, but no, she turns out to be another fucking daughter figure. How many fucking daughters are we gonna have in video games? We don't even have girlfriends anymore. That used to be the thing. Is like everybody's a girlfriend. No, everybody's a daughter, and that's so much worse. That is so much worse.
Yeah.
There's a part in Bioshock Infinite where it's like the perfect it's like the most dad part of the game that I've gone through yet, where you hear Zachary Comstock on the top, right? And he's like come back, dear Elizabeth, and it's like, you can't tell me where to go, Dad.
By the way, here's the first giant robot of the game.
Oh yeah.
Not that wide.
Another one-liner.
Oh
my god.
I wrote about this a little bit, but I mean the thing about it is like, you know, when you write a daughter character, you don't really have to write a character because parental-child relationships are kind of easy to write because children aren't fully developed people. You know, and that's the thing is like, so you don't. It's really hard to make a child character who's very rounded. You know, because it's just like these are who are still doing all kinds of like identity experimentation or whatever. But at least when you write a character who's supposed to be a girlfriend or something, there has to be like, you know, like there has to be a personality to them or something to contrast or complement with the main character, because then that romantic pairing has to make sense, at least in a form where this is well executed. I mean, this is why even Renoa, who's a character that has made a damsel in distress 3 fucking times, is more interesting than any female character in a video game that came out last year. You know?
I'm going to assert that I think children are well-rounded, and I think they are actually pretty well developed. I think children actually do notice things very quickly. I think what happens when we two bright children is that the parental relationship that we tend to assert onto children.
Well, but yeah,
like we kind of, to be honest, like we kind of in a little bit of a way, we kind of oppress children in a little bit of a way. We kind of take away their ego. And the thing about that also is that we kind of force these simplistic relationships, power relationships onto them, and that gets reflected in the writing. I think that's what this particularly is happening. So it's very easy to say, well, the child is dependent, the child doesn't know things even what children usually do.
And honestly,
they notice the social norms really, really quickly.
And honestly, I think when I was playing The Last of Us,
damn it!
The thing that I noticed about The Last of Us was that I think the thing I was enjoying about it as I played it, even though I kind of disagreed with like its worldview, was that it seemed to be a very accurate depiction of the kind of mental state that fatherhood can put you in, or at least of that kind of fatherhood. If that makes sense to say, it's just like I'm 20 years old. I don't have kids. I don't understand what it's like to be in your mid-30s and you have a daughter and you believe that the world is a scary place, etc., that sort of thing. I felt like Last of Us put me in that headspace pretty well. It doesn't mean I agree with that kind of headspace, but I felt like it kind of got that. But that's the thing, is that what this AAA game did well was portray a deeply problematic worldview point. It's like that's what it did well. And it didn't do it, and that's the thing, is I kind of thought that, like, okay, maybe it's going to get subversive or something like that, and then it just, it just kind of, like, played the whole thing completely straight.
I really like in Vanquish, when you die, you see the core fans start to slow down. That's really awesome. It's a really cool
thing. I should also mention that I did start this mission over, mostly for points, and that's just kind of thing I do out of habit, where in this game, if you die, you can restart from a checkpoint, or you can restart from like the last major point in the mission. And if you restart from your checkpoint, you lose points when you actually finish the mission.
I really love how you jump in the air and then shoot while in the air. It's really freaking
cool. Yeah, it's awesome. It's like key to playing this game. Like they make all the cool shit so important that you want to do it.
You have to do the cool shit. That's all.
It's you can play the game like a cover shooter, but look at all this cool shit you got.
They kind of make the cool shit really important in Metal Gear Rising too, but it kind of depends on your interpretation of cool shit, because the thing that's cool in Metal Gear Rising is parrying one attack and then using the opportunity to slice your opponent in half with a single. Exactly. You have to have an appreciation of deep cuts for Metal Gear Rising, for that aspect of Metal Gear, because it doesn't, like, Metal Gear Rising doesn't necessarily reward the pressing 1,000 buttons as much as, say, like God of War 2. And I'm not even God of War 2 is a bad game, but Metal Gear Rising.
It's very different in comparison.
Because I'd say Metal Gear Rising is knowing about when to stop pressing buttons, and then like knowing when to like cancel out of something and then into a parry. And granted, when you get into Blade Mode, you can also Blade Mode is a really good example now that I'm thinking about it. Sorry, I just ended up going into a whole different topic. But Blade Mode is a really good example of like a choice that doesn't matter, that says a lot about like who you are in a game without necessarily having to define a lot of the rest of the game. Because in Blade Mode, it always tells you, here's where the core is. You want to slash this to get to it. But the game doesn't judge you one way or the other if you decide to slash 1 billion times to get to it, or just to get one.
Yeah.
Just to get the one core slice, or to get the billionth one. So it's a part of a game that can just reflect your mood that day, reflect a particular play style. It can reflect a lot of things about the people playing it. And it doesn't have to do that with any other kind of metric system other than showing you how many times you decided to cut this dude up.
Yeah.
I'm really not into this weird like the weird construction of this Asian woman in Bioshock Infinite, where she just sits in a corner and prays around a Buddha.
That's cool. That's cool. That sounds like a white man's understanding of Asian women.
It's a little creepy, I don't know. And then Elizabeth goes to her and she's like, "Where's your husband?" And she says, "He's gone. He's not here." And I'm like,
"Oh God,
really creepy, yo." Like, oh jeez, I'm not into that.
It's gonna get worse too.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how to word this, but it's almost like if you want to put one person of color in your game, then you have to put the one person of color in your game to represent the entire populace of people of color.
Yeah.
So you make them the most broadly arched person of color as well. So you don't get a broad variety of these kinds of people. You don't get you have the most. God, I don't know how else to say this, and I'm sorry.
It's called a token.
You get the most black-sounding black lady. You get the most Asian-sounding lady.
You get the homeless lady from Deus Ex 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's it called? What's it called? Someone did an interview with her actually, and they talked to her about that. That was really cool.
Masterpiece.
Yeah, that was a good interview. That was really cool.
Although Deus Ex Human Revolution, that character was just unfortunate because she was like the first character of color, and then like there's not any other major characters of color, but there is actually like people of color on the streets, and there are like different kinds of them. So that initial blow kind of got softened for me as I played more of that game. But God, it came out with a wrong message. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it kind of came out like full force, like here you fucking go, and I'm just sitting here like, damn, really?
You know, like you're gonna give me, you know. Sorry to speak in types, but like you're gonna give me the woman from the Zatarans commercial, like for
right?
Like Jesus,
You're gonna give me fucking Medea? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so I mean, it's like that's the first black character you experience in that game. But I mean, you know, shit. At least there are other black characters in there who don't sound like her. You know, that might not have been the best way to word that, but I think you know what I mean.
The important part is you tried.
Yeah, good job for trying, Austin. B plus.
I am so not.
See, B plus for the white man.
Yeah.
Hey,
This is why I don't. This is why I don't write about race and gender in my game writing.
This is why you shouldn't.
This is
you know where you belong, and that's what's important.
Coming up from within the substructure.
You know, I mean,
We're gonna skip this cutscene because you already know what's happening. It's this big ass robot that I'm not gonna die to this time, because I'm not gonna fucking run straight into fire just so I can save one dude.
To be fair, I barely even write about race either, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know,
Talk about design. I've got my
But
design stuff.
I don't do it because I don't even have to. That's the thing, which is understanding that I'm not obligated to, which is important because
right? No, you don't.
because there's sometimes, especially in video games, sometimes there's like a weird. It's hard to. I might even word this badly, but there's like a market for like identity for things.
Yeah, there really is.
So it turns into something that's commodified essentially, and that means that all they want. And there are writers who talk about how like all people want from it is like writing on their particular identity status, nothing else. And it's like it's really creepy. So that's a thing.
How about some more design rhetoric that conflates East and West as Japan and U.S. design?
Yeah. How about that?
Design rhetoric.
Can't escape it.
No,
actually, I do have.
Here's the thing. I think the thing about it is I've kind of been like almost politicizing and weaponizing that language but the thing is I'm kind of doing that in response to that already happening, because if you noted, and I talked about this in my first major stream with TJ and Zolani, and I'm not sure if you were there in on it, but basically if you notice the design ideas that are becoming most popular in you know, like this is what games can do, you know, and it's all about like emergent stuff and like having as many possibilities in your game as is possible, you know, and like freedom and that sort of, and it's all of the ideas that are really popular in Western. But if you notice, like if we're talking about like if we're talking about the core Japanese game,
you're doing great.
as reflected. And
if you catch up, I'm gonna interrupt you further. If you catch up, I already beat that one, but now there's the second form also, and you're gonna want to pay attention to this one because this is where the selling point of the game happens.
There's so many rockets.
Okay, but Austin, I was definitely listening. You're talking about this Western theme in design.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of like it also seems like it's also kind of like. Did you see David Cage's Dice Talk?
I usually don't watch David Cage. Do you mean the guy who made that game there, Beyond Two Souls?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like 3 different phrases. That is like I would never any of that.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
This is like.
Yeah, I really don't do stuff.
But David Cage, I want to hear the example though.
David Cage's Dice Talk was basically one of the most asinine versions of like, we need games to be big boys now, you know, like, and like we need games that like do stuff, you know, like talk about relationships and family and things like that. And it kind of like, Warren Spector also ended up doing kind of a similar talk, and he ended up doing another one of his stupid "Where's All the Games" criticism pieces, and God, it's really hard to summarize. But basically, like
selling moment incoming.
He called video games Peter Pan. He said that they're kind of like refused to grow up, and he was partially referring to the fact that video games are so centered around like sci-fi and fantasy motifs and stuff like that. And the thing about it is that, like, he kind of, it seems like he kind of,
It's Vanquish.
and it seems, holy shit, okay, this is amazing.
Welcome to Vanquish.
Yo! Oh! Oh!
I feel like I'm
Oh my god.
How do you feel, Zolani?
I'm trying to understand what's going on right now. No, I don't know if I'm in the right place. You just dodged a bullet?
Yeah, I dodged 2 bullets, and then I took the 3rd one and I threw it in the dude's arm.
Oh! Oh, fuck! Oh, shit!
Like, put this into words that make sense to how I feel right now, and you just penetrated that robot
I just want you
with
to know
its
that
own bullet.
I just want
And
you to
I-
know that moment right there is what inspired
the
me to
climax.
make fucking actiony scenes in Joy Lancer. Like from that point on, I was like, I need to make a game where every single thing like this happens. It's important. I need more of this.
With its own,
With its
Object.
own giant missile.
yeah.
Because this is Vanquish. Thank you, Shinji Mikami.
And that was my climax.
We
yeah.
honestly don't love you enough. Thank you so much.
So yeah, so David Cage is... yeah. And there's actually, I'll send it to y'all when we're done, but if y'all know who MovieBob is, he basically did a video that like responded to both of them, and a lot of what I'm saying here is probably stuff that he said, but basically it was a bunch of asinine stuff where it was like, oh, we need to grow up, and by growing up, we need to like stop making sci-fi and fantasy games, and it's like, that's not how that works. Just because you start writing adult drama doesn't mean you do it well, and David Cage, you are the prime example of it.
Yeah, did you forget Indigo Prophecy or Heavy Rain or anything you've ever made in your fucking life, you hack?
Yeah, exactly. He's so bad. God.
He is, yeah, it's really weird, and honestly, like it's weird too because I feel like there's a sentiment of David Cage that I feel like I would agree with, but it's like everything around him just makes me just
He's
totally
so,
just like it's so off-putting.
I view David Cage as literally dangerous to the progression of this medium, because the thing about it is that like he is genuinely presenting an alternative to the way most AAA games are, except his alternative is just a design model that's older than him, you know, the fucking point-and-click adventure game, and his game's writing, and his writing, the writing in his games is so bad, it might...
You know, honestly, it might not even
if
just be
Ken
point-and-click
Levine
adventure.
If Ken Levine and Jeff Yohalem were not working, he would be the worst games writer working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who's the second guy?
Jeff Yohalem, writer of Far Cry.
Yeah. Oh, Far Cry. Okay, that's yeah. That was
Far Cry
my first
3,
guess.
not 2. But I'm not saying. I'm just saying that Far Cry 2 is usually better regarded. But Far Cry 3, oh my!
Wow, you got chat going. Well done.
I played 15 minutes of Far Cry 3, and I've never been more offended by a video game. Not because it was like racist or anything. Well, it was racist, but that wasn't the reason I was offended. It's like,
It's not racist. It's terrible.
Okay, Far Cry 3, okay.
You want to talk about peak AAA? Far Cry AAA. Oh my god.
You know, fucking, like, nowadays, AAA just seems like some sort of, like, weird alien to me, you know? Like, I play games like Vanquish, I'm like, this isn't AAA. Because, like, whenever I think of AAA, I think of shit like that.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is kind of what AAA used to be, and you know why? Because AAA used to be Japan.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much the best way to put it.
Yeah, I guess it did, didn't it?
No, I mean, think about it. Like, what games were everyone playing in, like, 1997? 8. Okay, 8. What games, like, the two big games of 1998 were Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and Metal Gear Solid. Those were the two big stories that year. They were both Japanese games, and they were both very Japanese games in terms of how at least...
Oh, right, because all the consoles were in Japan.
What?
All the consoles were in Japan.
All the consoles were made in Japan, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
now that we have a Western console that actually is competing, that's really important.
I totally forgot about that. Post Xbox, now it's
Yeah. And the thing is that, technically speaking, I'm not sure from a sales standpoint, but, like, if nothing else, the Western market of video games is definitely dominant right now. And there's stuff like Sega doesn't nearly publish nearly as much stuff in the West.
And
as,
when they do a fucking terrible job of it, like Vanquish. Hello? Hello?
This is gonna be fun.
Oh, by the way, in like 10 seconds, you're going to notice that I picked up a new weapon called the Anti-Armor Pistol, which is one of the special pre-order weapons. It's only got a couple shots, but it's really fucking strong and it goes through armor. And the weapon that I picked up after that is called the Disc Launcher, and it's one of those very unique specialty weapons, because the actual projectile itself is really strong, but it fires super slow, but it also changes your melee attack to one that pretty much kills every enemy that hits on spot without using up suit energy.
Damn.
Oh shit!
I'm watching Vanquish and just thinking of it from a design standpoint. It's always this. I guess like because I never like this big wheels, but it's always kind of good to have like general kind of rule of thumbs of things, of like general like ideas of how to set up a thing. And we like to think of understanding that you create a space and then you give someone the tools to operate within that space, right?
Yeah.
Which it seems like the most obvious thing ever. But
Yeah.
not
Another
not
thing
a
is
lot of
that
people
Vanquish
do.
in very certain locations is always throwing very specific
So I
weapons
understand
at you.
that
So like there's certain weapons that'll be like placed out for you because they'll be like useful for you at that moment in time. Fucking asshole! And and like basically like the entire basis around the weapon system is designed to just be like switched around with shit. Like if you're running low on one weapon, just pick up a random stray weapon and you'll get full ammo for it.
Fuck! You just slide it into that dude, backflipped, and then sworded him.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Oh yeah.
That
So
was an option?
Yeah.
Shit. So what is?
I want to go back to this also thing about games maturity. And the thing about this is that, and this is a huge problem in Western culture in general, but there's this huge conflation with cynicism and maturity. Like,
Yeah.
there's this idea that being an adult means being cynical and not believing in things.
And not giving a shit.
I feel the need to be the dude to constantly assert that when we reach maturity, we reach the work-life stage where we spend basically all our lives sitting there working in jobs that we hate and things that we don't like, and we're told that we have to do this to be responsible.
Wait, wasn't Peter Pan cynical? Wasn't that like his character?
I have no idea. I've never watched.
I don't remember.
But I mean, our understanding of maturity always comes from a capitalist and neoliberal culture, which tells us of what is acceptable, what isn't, in terms of how we go about our lives, was essentially understanding that to work is to be noble, but we work at terrible things. But if we don't work, then we're lazy. If actually the understanding of being poor and lazy is like a huge thing. That goes back a very, very long time. I just wanted to note that particularly.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, I'm gonna note this thing too. I'm gonna fucking go back to that Colin Moriarty piece, because that piece. First of all, I'm gonna say some things about the piece particularly.
Please go ahead and say something about that piece. That piece fucking sucks.
Well, it sucks. It's
Enemy transport ship nearing your position.
so funny.
It's so funny and like how badly it sucks.
Well, it's like I'm reading this and I'm literally laughing out loud multiple times because like it's actually laughing out loud, and it's particularly because it's so like there's something so remarkable about how someone could be so posed into how to understand like social politics of the media.
Oh shit!
Like, it was actually kind of incredible. But I mean, one of the things is that Colin Moriarty gets to a point. No, I'm gonna fucking find the piece because it's a really like there are some quotable things in that piece. Like it really is like if you want to see like a general like fedora like sort of neocon gamer nerd and how this person like interprets like the world around them, like that piece is just so I just if you read the piece, like you'll sit there and it's like, okay, I get what this like ideology is now, and it's like it's kind of terrifying. But I mean, it's totally intact. There's some there's some parts in here that I want to quote particularly, but I'll quote one just because it's relevant. So, Far Cry 4 isn't a nauseous, inclusive children's book or an afternoon Nick Jr. cartoon.
Okay.
It's an M-rated video game.
Yeah, I remember that one. I remember you quoting that one on Twitter.
Yeah, because it's an incredible fucking part of it. Because this is a dude who literally believes in himself.
This is a dude who gets paid to write shit like this.
Like his understanding of what is mature.
That sounds like
goes down to understanding of an M-rated shooter video game. This is the mature aspect.
He literally went. This isn't Nick Jr. It's TNT.
Yeah. He says this isn't an. He says this is not an inclusive children's book because inclusive children's books are childish, right? They're childish and trite and useless, but an
inclusivity is.
This is like these are like just. And like that is fucking pure ideology shit. Like you can't like there's no way to
your ideology.
I'm telling you, you can't like how do you approach that? You know, like what do you even do with someone who says something like that? You can't engage with that. You really
You can't debate with
that. I mean,
that.
if we're gonna talk about maturity in Western culture, and you look at that piece, like these are people who really believe in the kind of shit that gets put onto them. Like they really believe in these kinds of like big media spheres and the stuff that is also them. And it's just like it's remarkable.
It's amazing. It's like a feat.
Like it's like Jesus fucking Christ. Like, you know what I mean? Like what do I even do with you? Like it's just like wow, man. Like
I couldn't write like that.
It sounds like a joke.
I like fear that every single sentence that I write that ever has anything to say about something like that sounds like that, and that's what stops me from writing. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I really do not want to be this kind of person if I'm going to do any kind of writing. So I need to not do this for like just a moment.
When I read that piece, I was like, wow, I need to write stuff. Because the bar is set a little low. Lower than I expected.
Yeah, like honestly, if that's the standard that games are being set to, then I have a fucking job. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
That's kind of a tragic thing about like how I'll say inaccessible. No, that's not a great word.
Doesn't matter what word you use anymore, because
It really doesn't.
It took me a long time to find the good games criticism. I didn't really find it until well, I will say that Extra Credits is good game criticism, but I didn't find out about Brendan Keogh until I watched one of their episodes about Spec Ops: The Line.
I would
Yeah,
still say
same.
I don't know shit about games criticism because I just don't read that much. It's just something that I don't do, you know?
But anyway,
Especially nowadays because I'm fucking working
that's the
on so
thing
much
is-
shit.
but that's the thing is like you think about like so much of like both mainstream games criticism and like the culture that kind of surrounds it of like, you know, like independent dudes on YouTube who make like top 10 lists and shit like that. And I've got,
Yeah.
for the record, I got nothing against those people. But
Yeah,
like,
do what you want.
but at the same time, it's like you kind of look at least the quality of the writing and you just kind of go, boy, yeah, I could do better than that, you know?
Yeah.
Because these aren't people who are required to write well in order to do their job, and that's not their job isn't to write well,
That's
and
true.
their job is not to provide insight. That's not what they do, right? And I also say that's not necessarily college. Like you mentioned before that the piece sounds like it's a joke. And it's like, but it's like it's the entire piece, and and you're right, it actually does sound like a joke because he says everything so seriously. He says it like he really believes in it. Like there's another part I want to, because like I hope what I'm trying to communicate is really getting off here with this piece is like there's a part above it which talks about how where is it? He says, when I first saw this artwork, I had a few thoughts. My first thought was, man, I can't wait to play Far Cry 4. I absolutely adored Far Cry 3. It was an exceptional game, one to watch with a host of non-linear explorative qualities, solid gunplay, and a surprisingly engaging story. It deserves every one of
Oh god, I am
It's-
so fucking tired of surprisingly engaging stories.
Like I'm just like, can you please stop shitposting in my stream right now? Like, there's no way that you're like quoting that, even though I totally know that you are.
I am so
Even though I
tired
know
of-
100
Man,
fucking
this is
percent.
better than right?
I'm not done though.
Sorry.
I'm almost done.
Let him
It deserves every one of its 9 million.
I'm sorry, Zolani, this is Vanquish. You have to go quick.
So that's it. But I mean, the reason I wanted to note that particularly is that I just want to take that off as an understanding that if it does sound like a joke, it's particularly because it sounds delusional. It sounds completely. It sounds like someone who has not thought of a particular ideological sphere, or at least if they had, they think it's a very narrow ones of everything. Like these, like when you think about like other weird like mainstream game crit pieces, like the Owen Good one time saying how everyone chooses to be a pendant and stuff. It's like people who don't know how to they don't know how to do criticism, like real social criticism, real like critical thought of media. Critical thought of media and of politics in a very particular sense, of critical politics, critical social politics, like 101 things, which I mean I guess I read kind of often, and to read that kind of stuff is just blowing my mind, you know. So I mean, like I guess the reason I kind of wanted to note that because there's something on my mind. But I mean, I do want to note that like if that kind of stuff is surprising, it's because because that's what the market is kind of there.
Yeah, that's what it's looking right nowadays.
Yeah, so
I mean, if you're looking to get a job in games, I'm just saying. No, I'm kidding. I actually love my job. I just don't like dealing with people in it.
I definitely often think about how I would design Let's Plays that were pandering to specific audiences.
well,
Like, if I was going to sell out everything, what would I do?
You know, I want to
you play all the new releases I guess I don't know. You play all
See,
Not
this is what
quite.
you do. You spend $2 at Redbox, you open up your capture card, you play the entire game once in one sitting, and then you upload that shit and just don't even give a fuck. That's
Well,
because that's how people do it. That's how I did it, in fact, with Alien Soldier.
Even better is that you have you do the camera into your face and stuff, and then you yell
Yeah,
obscenity.
you gotta have a scare cam. You gotta yell like the most gross, like horrible, like take a swear word and then put food right after it, and you're sold. Just keep doing that.
And you have to make sure you have like a very like intentionality, like one that's like really crass.
Have you heard of the Nostalgia Critic? Do that.
No.
So you got to be that. I sound so morbid right now. It's just
That's honestly the tragic thing about like the oversaturation of that market of like kind of like personality-based internet movie and games and music criticism is that it kind of like the fact that there's so much of it makes all of it seem the same. And like speaking as someone who at least used to engage with a lot more of that stuff, there really is a tier, and there's a reason Nostalgia Critic is the most popular one. It's because he's good at it. You know, like
I don't know. I mean, if I suppose you could say he's good at what he does, but I mean, like a lot of people can take shits in toilets every single day. I do it like 4 times a day. I wouldn't exactly say that I'm great at it. I would just say that it's something that I do.
Nah,
I do it about.
I know you guys think about the most basic parts of the Let's Play, but I'm thinking like, what would be my angle or my theme? Because like, yeah, you could do.
If you were the biggest sellout on YouTube, your angle would be that you play horror games on day one and you do face capture for the whole thing.
Oh yeah, not my.
It's already a thing though.
Make sure you have a brony username.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of a thing already though. It's already
You
kind
can
of
fill
done.
it with gimmicks,
That's
you
already.
can fill it with things, but you have to follow through and keep a consistent theme with all of your work. And that's what Nostalgia Critic does, right? It's shitty and it's really basic, but it is a consistent theme.
It's actually a lot harder to think of gimmicks than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
That's because every gimmick fucking sucks.
You know what? If I had a gimmick about, and it wouldn't necessarily be the most commercial gimmick, but I think if I had a gimmick as a Let's Player, I would only play really sad video games. I would basically only play games by Yoko Taro. I would play like Drakengard Nier and Drakengard 3, and those would be like my first projects. I'd be like, all right, we're gonna open up the gate with the saddest shit possible. And it would just get, and it would just, just like the other games would be slightly less sad, but still really sad. Like, like they would just be,
Pauline totally gets what I'm getting at.
You're doing like mega punch, like hyper punches.
Oh yeah.
Like into the robot.
Yeah, Vanquish.
Shit.
oh, you're drunk still.
Just cuss.
I'm telling you, like so much shit has been going on while all this discussion has been happening. It's like the most conflicting thing in the universe.
Oh my god.
I know.
It's really cool to do like a slow-mo slide and see the rattle. There's a lot of cool stuff going on.
Yeah, the slow-mo is actually a thing that you can trigger it manually by rolling and then holding the aim button, or when you take a certain amount of damage, and like normally where a game would just become like impossible to see, Vanquish just goes, here's your slow-mo, we're gonna activate this for you. And it's funny because like that can actually screw you in some situations, so you still want to avoid taking damage. Because like sometimes like it'll activate slowdown for as much meter as you have in your suit, and when that runs out, you're fucked. So at that point, like if you're still like running low on health and you have like no meter in your suit, like if you get shot, you're dead.
I just want to point something out real quick. I wanted to stream today because I was really stressed out about the stuff I'm not going to talk about.
Yeah,
but
same.
I did drink at the party that I went to, so if I'm being particularly like crazy right now, that's probably why. And I don't usually drink.
Well, you're doing pretty alright.
This is a Vanquish stream. I don't think you need to worry about your behavior.
I'm just, I'm just kind of like talking over everyone. And Vanquish stream.
I think you're doing pretty okay.
We're having a nice little casual moment.
I think it's just because today was just kind of a shitstorm of shit I don't like.
Yeah. Today's been a rough day. That's just kind of why I want to be like.
That's why I wanted
play
to.
video
I
games
just
for a
wanted to
bit.
play a game. Like.
Yeah. I was playing a lot of Sonic Adventure today, and I wasn't really going on Twitter.
I just spent most of today playing Zone of the Enders 2, and then like trying to come up with ideas for more games to work on. I couldn't come up with anything, so now I'm playing Vanquish.
Can I take a completely like? Can I just take this whole thing on a left turn right now and just start talking about something random?
Go ahead.
Sure. Do you want to? If it's something bad, maybe you should give it trigger warning.
Oh no! No.
Okay.
No, it's well. I mean, it's kind of about sad stuff, but like, okay. I'm going to Maryland Death Fest tomorrow to see. Yeah. And I'm going to see the band My Dying Bride, and they are a British doom metal band, and it's the first time a British gothic doom metal band.
Excellent band.
Excellent band. And it's the first time they're playing in the United States since 1997, which actually makes it the first time since I was born. Well, I was born in 94, but you know, it's like literally like they have not performed in the United States since 1998 or 7. So yeah, anyway. And so the thing I noticed about it is that I've been seeing some like interviews and stuff with them recently. And granted, like they're a doom metal band, and like they're kind of aware of what their aesthetic is. And their aesthetic is that they know that when you come to them,
oh shit,
you know, like they know that their audience isn't really like concerned about, you know, like, oh, is this too angsty, which is like something that a lot of other bands have to worry about from their audience, because it's just like, do my lyrics come off as too whiny or whatever? Because so much of like the metal and hardcore scene is a bunch of tough guys and crap.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is that when we start talking about bands like My Dying Bride, they understand their audience so well that it's just like, oh, they'll talk about, oh, this piece of music or lyrics is particularly miserable, is a word that they use a lot, and they say it in a very, very thick British accent. You know, and they say this is particularly miserable, but that's what you come to expect from us. And I think the thing that's kind of interesting about that is that that band and their music and their art has kind of like not normalized like depression in such a way as to be unhealthy, like, you know, like to the point where it's just like you know, like where like serious problems are like, you know, normalized as just part of your existence that you can't really like treat or whatever. But it is kind of interesting how they just kind of like, they kind of make it like My Dying Bride is kind of like a band that they're just like, they're interested in creating a space where you can enjoy this sad thing. It's literally like they're good at making sad porn. I use the term sad porn a lot, but like they make sad porn, and they know they're good at making sad porn, and they know that's what you come there for.
Speaking of sad porn, get ready for this fucking kill right here.
What?
I said, speaking of sad porn, get ready for this kill right here.
Yeah, and like the thing is like, they're kind of, you know, they're totally they're totally, what the hell?
Oh my god.
That was amazing.
Something we can rely on for once.
I was trying to decide. I was trying to decide whether or not I should do the boost slide and then the shotgun, or if I should just go all in with the assault rifle melee and just punch it a million times.
We just saw that.
And in the end, I decided to go with the slide because that's just what I was feeling.
Dirty.
Nice.
Dirty. Disgusting.
Yeah, and it's
Keep going. Okay.
yeah, no, so I mean, it's like this, so this band kind of, it's just like they kind of normalize the fact that that's what you go to them for. You know, this kind of like, this gothic, very intentionally melodramatic, exaggerated sense of depression or whatever. And I feel like that's kind of, like the idea that it's like okay to like stuff that's sad because it's sad, or something like that, like, or something, or stuff that's like incredibly dark, like specifically for that reason. You know, it's and granted, a lot of these bands are using those kind of topics to say stuff about other stuff, like, you know, My Dying Bride in particular focuses a lot on like religious stuff and, you know, like struggles with Christian faith and that sort of thing. But I don't know, that's sort of an interesting thing, and I think that's something I'd like to see more of out of video games or whatever. Like, and I think Yoko Taro is one of the only directors I can think of who does this. He says, "I make like dark games for weird people," is like an almost exact quote of something he said, and basically, I just want to see more of that in games, and I feel like that would be a good counter to like a lot of this jock attitude that informs video games as well. You know, where it's just like, this is our M-rated shooter game where everyone's this big tough guy or whatever. Like, you know, kind of like what Colin Moriarty was saying about Far Cry 4 or whatever. And it's just like, well, maybe I don't come to a video game always to be the guy who's clearly on top of the situation and dominating everything. Maybe I want something else out of a game sometimes.
You know, I'm gonna use that opportunity to talk about myself because I'm a huge egotist. But no, really, like when it comes to like game development and stuff, I'm always like thinking of like who do I want to attract like with this game, because like I don't always focus on like one demographic particularly. But there's like in my game design, there's very clearly certain types of games that I like, and I like to reflect that in most of my designs. But I don't want to be like. I don't want it to be a thing where people like expect only that for me, you know? Like I have a bunch of like action game ideas and stuff that I want to work on, which people would expect from me now that Joylancer is out. But like there's also like a bunch of experimental shit that I want to try out that isn't so action oriented, and like stuff where like it's just weird and like doesn't make sense and like maybe isn't that fun to play but on purpose, you know?
Wait, is it not gonna have a dash?
Well, I mean, we'll see how that
can't have a
comes.
game
I
like
have a really hard time making games that don't include some kind of mechanic that has you dashing. It's just, it's so good. It's so good.
I'm gonna say that I really, and I'm pretty sure I've told you this before, but like a while ago, but I really like Solaris. I really do.
I do too. I'm actually
Solaris
planning out like a kind of like pseudo sequel to it, kind of, but not like an actual sequel. Just like something that's like similar to like it in terms of like game construction and being mostly about.
Well, heard
like,
it here first. Solaris 2 confirmed.
Yeah, what's called this is 2015. I don't know, but
Yeah.
what's it called Lana and I are really into Solaris, and we talked about it on our podcast before.
It's one of those games that I just kind of made on a whim because I wanted to, and like the reception that I got from people has been like amazing. I've been like, I did not expect people to like it as much as they have, you know.
We need to remove that barricade and continue our
This is a really good giveaway for me.
Oh, so this thing about dark games, I want to put I just want to try creating sort of a scale here, right? Because
Oh my god, so many bullets.
I guess the thing is I feel like the word that you're kind of getting at is vulnerability, which is that maybe you want vulnerable characters or kind of like
Yeah, or like characters that are just designed like really awkwardly, intentionally, you know.
Oh, lots of voices.
oh yeah, what?
Sorry, I have a bit of a story to tell there, like vulnerability and vulnerable characters and stuff like that. I do remember specifically a conversation I had years ago with my friend Monique on Twitter, and actually, TJ, I met you through my friend Monique, who I think is now Cute Ghoul.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Monique is awesome.
Yeah, no, I found out about you through her.
I don't talk to them enough.
Oh, really? He pronouns now?
I said them.
Oh, them. Okay.
I just try to use them on like by default.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway.
Why is that thing still in the way?
But yeah, we were talking once, and I was talking once about like I need more games where characters cry. Like it was just like one of these concrete statements of I want games where characters cry. And it's just and she asked me like what do I mean? And I said like I want characters that aren't always on top of everything, and I want characters who have like doubts and who have like depression and that sort of thing. And, you know, it's just like, you know, I need more game characters like Squall. I need more of those guys, and it's just like I guess that was a character type that was more popular at a certain point in the development of games as a medium, but it's kind of fallen out of the way now. But especially it's like this was before I think I played Depression Quest or I'd heard about Actual Sunlight or anything, and Depression Quest is a pretty good example of it. But basically, yeah, the vulnerability is one of them, and it's also kind of like I like the idea of a game where it kind of creates a space in which you can engage with like not your cynicism but your pessimism. Like you're not like cynicism is kind of like at least I would say like colloquially speaking like is more like an attitude about like, you know, and it's like kind of a reflexive not
attitude and expectation.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a reflexive like not having ideals and that sort of thing. But like a pessimistic game would be just, you know, like a game like Nier where just shit doesn't work out, where you just try really hard and nothing gets better. You know, it's just like games that allow you to kind of engage with like your worst expectations about what could possibly happen in life. You know, and it's just like, and it's not necessarily because these games are even necessarily stating that this is how they believe life is, although Nier might be like that. But it's just kind of like, you know, games that let you engage with like the worst, like your worst expectations or whatever, and kind of like as a form of therapy. You know, I see games as very therapeutic. But go ahead.
Oh god, hold on, I'm trying to take this out. So here's the thing, because I was because the reason why I asked about vulnerability particularly is because it sort of helps clarify it as well. But it's also this thing where it's like you have these different sides, right? Where you have a game like Far Cry 3, the shooter bullshit. I mean,
Right.
but you know that kind of stuff, right?
The power fantasy.
Yeah, power fantasy, challenge fantasy. I think
Oh, shit.
But I mean, it's this understanding of one who is invulnerable, essentially, or generally just doesn't really express much at all.
Right.
It's because it's obviously vessel for But then you get games. What is your opinion on games like The Last of Us and like the Bioshock Infinite, like the dad games where they are really sad dads, you know? And like, what do you think about those ones, particularly? Because like there are like Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs, Aiden Pierce wakes up and he grunts about his daughter and stuff. So I mean that's but I don't like those things. But they also seem to be
That's
something
exactly
that
why when you talk about vulnerability, the first thing that people are going to think about is characters and setting and things like this that are what we normally think of as like, oh, these are sad people with sad lives. But it doesn't necessarily reflect what the player is thinking or how they're feeling.
Right.
And so I think if you really want to like embrace that kind of MDB sadness, you want to like actually design a sad play. Like
what does that imply?
What?
What does that imply? Sad play.
I'm
Like-
thinking about that right now, and that's something I've been thinking about a lot. I think Depression Quest is one of the first games I can think of that actually has sad play in terms of there are literally options that are taken away from you as a result of this condition that you have.
yeah, it's not a power fantasy.
It's kind of a hammer, but it's like one that we really needed. But it is. But I'm thinking of ways you could do that, and it's kind
There's
of
no reason that you can't because the idea is that you're playing with someone's emotions.
right.
Well, the thing about sad play, I mean,
Because
I guess
the stamina fucking like we already have games where it's just like, oh, you need to eat, and it's just like, well, what about games where you need to take care of yourself? You know?
Isn't eating take care of yourself, especially in some contexts where people just don't eat because they're too stressed out or something? You know?
Yeah.
I think basically, I think if nothing else, I think we could take like. I think you could take a lot of what Depression Quest does and put it inside of I'll say a bigger video game, and I don't necessarily mean better or more complex or something. I'm saying like a game that like where engaging with depression is not like one of the main mechanics.
I would suggest Cart Life. Hoffenmeier's Cart Life.
Maybe, but the thing I want to mention, and I mean, I guess this is my reaction without actually thinking of it for too long, obviously. But I mean, I'm thinking over this thing where it's like, well, what gets harmonized as sad play in terms of purely design can be lots of things. It's about how it's contextualized through things like what the setting is and how the presentation is, right? So it's like I'm not sure if it matters too much about the nature of the spawns or the metrics essentially, but rather how these things are presented and what's the contextual setting around them. So it's understanding if I put a thing that's like a black and white, for example, and everyone moves really, really slow, or like let's say I play a shooter, for example, right? Because this is actually a pretty good example. It's like a weird example I'm trying to work with, right? Where we have like the typical like modern shooter, but it's in black and white. Everyone moves very, very slow. If I shoot someone, they make like a loud, long, drenched outcry, and there's like a sloshy sort of weird ambient music in the back. Like, is that sad play? Oh well, I mean, like in the sense of the shooter example, like does that count as sad play in a sense? Because I mean, this is what I mean. So it's about how these things are contextualized. It's always about nature.
That's kind of more what I want from. That's actually, I think I don't necessarily need games that necessarily have like sadness as like a mechanic or anything like that. But more just games where the aesthetic isn't so based around, you know, like we're so stuck in this Half-Life 2 mode of design where we're always trying to communicate to players that you are in control of this world and everyone loves you and shit like that. And just there are counter examples of different ways of making games, and it's even like, I mean, like Nier has lots of mechanics that comes from other games, and they aren't even necessarily like, you know, they're not sad. They're not sad play. No. They're not sad play versions of those mechanics, but they are contextualized consistently in a way that's really, really tragic. You know, and always comes off as really sad, and like, you know, like even like for example, there's like JRPG town music in like your main town, but the JRPG's town music is just, it's so sad. You know, it's minor key and it's slow. MGS4 is a great example of sad play. Actually, I was about to say that MGS 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all sad play games.
I would say 3 would only get to that point at a certain at a certain point in the game. Whereas like Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4, and especially 4 are just like they stick with it like from the start, you know?
Right, yeah, they're just like, I mean, MGS4 opens with like this really tragic song in Hebrew, and everyone's getting shot and dying, and that's the
And it's
entire.
talking about like fucking war and shit.
Yeah, like, you know, it's just, you know, like how war has become normalized and then that sort of thing. Like, I mean, MG, like that's a great thing to learn is like how just how you contextualize your mechanics defines how you experience those mechanics, even when the mechanics are the same. You know,
Speaking of mechanics, the weapon that I have equipped with is the laser cannon. All you have to do is hold the fire button, and then it eventually spins around and starts shooting a big ass laser. And
Nice.
the laser's very, very strong. Does multiple hits, but every time, like as it's draining, it constantly drains your suit energy. And if you keep it running for too long, you'll overheat, which I just did, which you'll see in like 10 seconds
Look out!
because
Something's
Twitch.
headed your way.
yeah.
I'm trying to
It's right below you.
think this through. One thing about Bioshock Infinite, which is weird, is that you get like the Elizabeth thing where she throws you ammo, and she throws you health, and when she throws you health, you get your whole health back. You get the entire.
Yeah, you
bar.
get all of it back.
Yeah. So it just kind of feels like a way to sort of compensate for like a really sort of like badly designed entrance.
Yeah, it's like randomly, here you go, full health because you probably
it's
need
like
it.
it's like full health because you probably didn't put this together very
And
well.
then
So
when
we're
you
just
die,
gonna, we're just gonna
it's
restart you.
And then when you die, it means nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you die, and then you literally just get back up, and it's like, this
So
game
what's
is
the point of the healing if death means nothing then,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So it's weird. Well, I mean, this is also Bioshock's problem. Bioshock sort of went past that through like the whole chamber thing, so it tries to make like a sort of like interesting narrative thing about it.
Oh, shit.
So Bioshock Infinite does this really weird door thing, which I find just like I know that this might sound kind of like heavy-handed, but it just feels like a really cheap way to sort of like kind of bring like a pretension of depth to something.
Right.
Like sometimes I feel like, and I don't know if this is a good observation, but sometimes I feel like Bioshock Infinite is trying really hard to convince me that it's something more than a shooter when it isn't.
Yeah,
and it
it
tries
absolutely
really hard,
isn't.
and it'll do all these
That's
really
the
weird
thing, yeah.
things, all these subtle things about it that really just like, no, we're not just a shooter, but you're like, fuck, this really just is. It's just like under the surface of all
It's
this
like
stuff,
once
it's
you
just-
add in
it's
all that other shit that's trying not to be a shooter, that's when you realize just how much of a shooter it actually is.
Yeah,
Because
you
then all
know,
this
it's
other
also-
shit happens and you're just like, this doesn't belong. Like, why is this here?
So you'll get stuff like, you know, like Booker's like through a ghost door when he dies. Oh, what does that mean and stuff? And it's just like, it feels so,
There should be a control
you know, because
panel.
it doesn't amount to anything. It just comes back to shooting. It always revolves back to this, what I'm doing right now. You know, I'm just noting that because I'm a volley gun person.
Yeah.
At least the volley gun is kind of fun. If I'll give Bioshock even a 6 out of 10 because the volley gun is fun.
And that's kind of why I decided to bring up like the Metal Gear Rising point when I just said that I thought it told its story, the story that it was trying to tell, better than Last of Us tried to tell its.
Interesting point, yeah.
And that's the thing is and the thing about it is that in a lot of ways Metal Gear Rising is kind of the opposite of pretentious. You know, it's
Metal Gear Rising isn't pretentious at all.
It's earnest, that's the point.
Well,
There's pretension and there's earnest.
It's both. It's earnest for one, but it's also Bioshock. I mean, the simplest way I can think to say this is that Bioshock Infinite is trying really hard to make you think that things aren't there, or rather that things are there. And Metal Gear Rising almost goes out of its way to make you think that there aren't.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like all of the stuff that's meaningful about that game is kind of is really really strongly subtextual, and
It's just, yeah, that's always the best way to go.
you know, and it's kind of like, and that's the thing is, it's kind of like, if nothing else, it makes it's really interesting just to note from like a commercial standpoint the fact that you make much better entertainment when if you're trying to make a point with your entertainment, then all of that stuff is kind of under the surface. So then there are layers to the work,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how Metal Gear has been operating for 20 years. There have been plenty of people who have just enjoyed Metal Gear as spy fiction, you know, spy fiction with stealth. You know, and then there was like, you know, like around the mid 2000s, like this whole rediscovery of the subtextual elements of the series, and like it's like diatribes on postmodernism, and the stuff that I'm trying to focus on now, which is a lot of the games like political identity, and just saying like that stuff has existed as part of its aesthetic and part of its subtext.
I know that you've been interested in camp lately. I'm going to note that this was sort of like this is what Sontag's argument for camp was, right? Which is that she wanted to subvert a quote unquote conservative intellectual establishment, and by this idea of something which has subtext to it, but is also on its own surface something that is very very easy to
digest.
Easy to digest in a sense, right? So understanding of you have these two layers around it. Basically, in a sense, so you have something that is easy to digest around, but also carries something to it, in that way. And she argued that this is the main way to avoid pretension. I agree with it kind of half-heartedly, but I understand why. I get it. I get where that comes from.
The only thing that bothers me, the thing that bothers me is that the thing that bothers me about the term camp is the assessment of camp as camp. And I mean, granted, I'm just going over the same talking point I've been going over. But
Yep.
but I mean, I'm gonna say what I've always said, which is that the thing about let's stop doing this thing where some things are silly and some things are dramatic, and just kind of like take things as they are, because the thing about that is that Metal Gear is dramatic and campy when it wants to. It just free float switches between the two, and it kind of just asks you to either be down with that or not be down with that, and it's worked for a lot of people.
It's worked for a ton of. It works for like the entire way the game is, like from like head to toe, start to finish.
Yeah, and that's the thing is because that's the thing is when we start talking about games, when we start talking about anything that starts mixing the two of them, I can bring up examples that people are more likely to like. For example, have anybody seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
That game, that's not a good game.
No.
I heard it. I heard good things about it, but I remember Sean Allen said he didn't like it.
That game is absolute garbage, and Sean Allen is 100% right.
Wow. Okay.
I'm talking about the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about the game.
The manga?
Oh my god, this freaking turret, man.
That's the thing is that the movie is one of those things that kind of on a dime will switch between between a more dramatic presentation and a more campy presentation, but depending on what it thinks works. And the thing about that is that movie was one of the best movies that came out in the year that it came out. I remember distinctly just watching the Oscars, and I just kind of had this revelation, and this is when I really started thinking about this. I was just watching the Oscars, and I just honestly thought to myself, Scott Pilgrim is better than all of these.
Well, I mean, I remember a lot of people were upset when Drive didn't win an Oscar.
Drive was so good.
It was so good. Oh man.
Oh.
But it didn't win an Oscar, right? Because
the interesting thing.
Well, that's the other thing is that Drive was a movie that presented through its trailers and stuff, kind of presented itself as this campy kind of driving movie, and then it ended up being this
really interesting
this French slow burn of an essential character examination. It was just Jesus,
yeah. You're just frick, man,
it ended up being so much more movie than what you expected it to be. And the thing is that it got heavily punished for that, because even the people who liked what it ended up being were disappointed with the fact that it wasn't what it advertised itself as, which is really dumb. But
Yeah, so
Important boss, by the way.
What? Oh shit.
This is the boss where Selling Point 2 happens.
Selling point. I want to play Vanquish.
You see, there are multiple points in this game that I have explicitly in my brain labeled as selling points, and this is the second one. I mean, the entire game is a selling point, but there are very specific points where you just go, this game needs to continue being played.
If you were going to write a BuzzFeed article with
exactly.
the top 5 parts of...
Stop my selling points in me.
Exactly. And the best part is that there's at least 2 to 3 selling points in each act, and there's 6 acts. I completely whiffed that punch combo, and I'm really ashamed of myself, and it still looked awesome. Oh shit.
So, I wanted to make a point about what Austin was saying, and it comes back to what I was talking about with what kind of places you're designing from when you're making these super dense design strategies. And you guys were talking about taking a game seriously and having this campiness added to it. And you keep bringing up Metal Gear and you keep bringing up Vanquish as these ideas. And I think it's because from the very base of what everyone on board with the team designing the game and building it out is trying to make, you're either trying to make this important game where things have to happen, and if they don't happen then people won't buy the game, it has to be important to them, versus another camp that's saying you have to it has to be designed to be something awesome or something that's fun to play. Not fun, that's a pretty loaded word, and awesome is a loaded word, but there has to be playfulness to it. And we see that in Vanquish happening where all of the forces that you are playing with, and they're totally forces, I use that specifically, you have forces of play that build out the systems.
By the
and
way,
they
here comes
overlap
selling
with
point
one
2. Just
Hit it.
while you're talking about this.
Yep, hit it.
Okay, we're watching. Oh. Okay, we're cutting each other up.
Nice.
Hold up, I gotta see this. I gotta see this.
And then we're G Gundam.
Hold up, wait.
What? I feel like I'm behind.
I honest to God just love any game where